Hi guys, it's pandas Data Diaries for you again, and today with a new data related challenge. We're talking about two different test data frames that have a certain issue. I already loaded them below, so you see over here we have test data frame 1 and test data frame 2, and they look as follows. So this is just some dummy data I put in. Don't look at the details, but focus at the bottom of the data frame. Over here, you see, like on the top, we have a lot of numbers and some strings over here. But at the end, we have this begin of formatting row, and below some author-related data, some like created data. So it's all formatting related. It doesn't contain any content, any relevant content anymore, and we don't want to see these rows in our data frame because they will mess up some calculations afterwards. So we want to remove them. But the thing is, we have multiple data frames and we cannot be sure which row is the first row of the formatting rows. So where does it begin? Because they have been created by a standard process, some templating engine or whatever. And for example, you have another data frame here, the test data frame 2, which has also some data here, but the formatting already begins in line 5 or 6, so to speak. Okay, so now that is a challenge. If I don't only have, let's say, 2 of these data frames, I even have 10 or like 20 or even hundreds of them. But I want to automatically detect when does the formatting start and which of the rows are actually relevant and which are not. So I need a way to programmatically identify the beginning of the formatting rows. How would I do this? So usually, as you might know, when you're watching this channel, you have this function called iloc, and you can specify which rows you want to see or which rows you want to return. So if I put in the colon, meaning all rows until a certain row ID. So I could put in all rows until 6. So you see it returns until 5, but that is because we started counting at 0. So that is what we would expect here. I can change it and I can return only 2 of the rows, etc. But that doesn't really help. We need to find a way to do this automatically, and we need to find a way to identify the string that kind of hints the beginning of the formatting, which in this case is begin of formatting. It's the same over here in this test data frame 1, it's begin of formatting. So this string is always the same, and we just need a way to identify this string basically. That will be the first step. So there's a function to identify strings, of course. And what is it? So I would put in, first of all, the name of the column in here, where I'm looking for the string. And then I can use the string function and say it contains a certain value, such as, for the beginning, let's just say A. And I put in this here, and A equals false, to basically ignore columns or rows that show a not a number or not available value for now. So let me show you what it does. If I return it, it will show that all of these here are false. Only line 5 is true and 7 is true. So what's in 5 and 7? You see here 5, we have an A in here, and in 7 we also have an A. So it returns both of these. So that's great. We already get 2 values back, and we can identify these strings. But in the case of the formatting, I only want to return 1 line, and I don't only want to basically return the first occurrence of the value that has been found. So I can use another function, which is the so-called idxmax function. So what you see here, it only returns 5, So 5 was the first one, beginning of formatting. It contained the A in here, but it didn't return the 7, which also contained the A. Why is that? Because idxmax returns usually the maximum value of a searched value in a column, but if it's the exact same value that is found multiple times, such as a string, then it will just return the first occurrence of this string. So the ID of the first occurrence, which in this case is 5. And since we're looking for the begin of formatting, I can just put in this as a whole string and show you what it returns then. Same thing, it will return the 5 because it has been mentioned here the first time. If I go back to test df1, so this is test df1, it should also return it, but then in 23. Let's see if it does that. I'm just changing test df2 for test df1, and that's exactly what happens. It returns the 23. So how does this help us now to find a way to programmatically return the data frame until the beginning of the formatting rows each single time? So if we have multiple data frames, of course, it makes sense to create a function for that. So I would set up a function, let's say def load data frame till format row, for example. Just giving it a weird name for now, but you know what I'm talking about. So it loads the data frame, it takes the data frame as a parameter, and then we would return what we just did here. So it's not test df, it's df in this case, and then the column name, which is test column 1 in all of these data frames, and then basically copy everything that you see here that we just discussed. And that would be the function. And if I use it now, let's say I load it with test data frame 1, test df1, what does it do? It does return the 23 in here, which is great. And for test df2, it returns the 5. So these are the values that we wanted to see. Okay, now that's great. But we didn't only want to return the number here, we wanted to return all of the rows that lead up to this, this ID. So we would need to go back to this part here, as I showed at the beginning. So usually use iloc to specify the start and beginning of the rows that you want to return. And we just put it in here, like the entire expression, and put the iloc before that. So let me show you what I mean. We would do it like this. So it says it takes the data frame at the beginning, and then we have the dot iloc, square bracket open, and we need to close it over here. And then in here, all we need to do is put in the column, meaning we want to see all rows. And basically the 2 over here, which tells you, okay, I want to go until this row, is replaced by this entire expression that we just built, which leads up to 5, and will return exactly what we want to see. So see, if I put it in, I'm getting this back, and that is exactly, so that's the original data frame. It ends with 78999. Then we have the beginner formatting row. And here you see we get back everything until 7899. Double check, if I put in test df1, we should see that it ends with 70, like, and what has it been in the beginning? So here, this is test df1, and the last row before the beginner formatting is the 70, and here this part has been cut off. So it worked. Here again, the function, if you want to write it down or memorize it somehow. I think it's pretty neat, and it helps a lot when you have to deal with multiple data frames that all follow the same pattern, have this formatting rows at the end, or some other things that you don't want to see in the data frame. Here's how you will identify it and yeah, find a way to programmatically remove it and have a clean data frame to continue your work. That's what I want to show you. Thanks for watching, and looking forward to seeing you next time.